Hello and welcome to At the Leadership Table with retired Major General Jim Hoyer. Oftentimes people hear the word leader and they think only of political leaders, but leaders come in many forms, and that's worth exploring. I'm Jim Hoyer, born and raised in West Virginia, a husband, a father, a new grandfather, and a retired military leader, serving for over 40 years in public leadership for our state and nation. Now, the most important mission I have going forward is to educate, motivate, and empower our next generation of leaders. At the leadership table with me today is Adam Krawsczyn. Adam is a PGA Associate Golf Professional, a small business owner, and general manager of Riverside Golf Club in Mason, West Virginia. And I'm excited to have Adam on today because he reflects one of those things that we talk about on a regular basis, that leaders come in all forms and from all different places. They're not just political leaders or leaders at the national level. A lot of our most important leaders come at our community level. So, Adam, excited to have you on today to talk about your role as a small business owner and a community leader.
General, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
So, Adam, I'm going to start out by asking you the same first question we ask all of our guests. Please share with us a standout moment when you learned something really important about leadership.
Sure. So, my favorite leadership lesson or moment where I feel like I really learned something that I take with me every day was via a novel. So, not a textbook, not on the job experience, but I read about this in probably my early 20s. And then it always stuck with me and kind of connected to my various roles that I've had over the years. But it's from a book called Don't Stop the Carnival by Herman Wouk, written in 1965. And it's a fish out of water tale about this Broadway producer from New York who gets tired of his, the rat race of New York and buys a resort on a Caribbean island. And so it's about him like trying to adapt to this island culture and all these challenges that come with not having the resources and um, the the conveniences of America. And the piece that I always remember is, so like he has these various hijinks, like things go wrong, and he's like questioning, why am I doing this? And finally, the cistern breaks for the whole entire resort. All the water rushes out. They have no water. So Norman decides to throw and all the guests are wanting to leave. So he throws a party with free champagne, and he writes on this big sign that says champagne si, agua no. And that becomes the whole theme of this party. And the patrons, the resort guests all have just party all night long and have this great time. And so like he really took this terrible situation where, it could have like cost him this business that he just invested in, moved his entire life to this, Caribbean nation far away from his, what he's used to in New York. And he had to really use his creativity and resourcefulness and just being flexible and nimble in the face of adversity. And that's really what I try to keep in mind on a daily basis with anything that I face. Like, how can I make this a champagne si agua no moment for my leadership style?
So I think that's a great example, and it's a great example too of you can learn leadership lessons in a lot of different ways and a lot of different forms. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. So you're a PGA Associate Golf Professional. You're a small business owner, general manager of a 60-year-old golf club in Mason County. So give us a little bit about how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so it's really, you hear people reference full circle stories, and it's like I could not put that tag on it any more than I can on this. When I was a kid, my dad started bringing me over when I was probably, 8 years old, and I played, learned how to play golf here. Knew all the Roush's, Mitch and Ty, and like Gary and Mary and all these folks that really made this place amazing. And I played for several years, and then they hired me as a on the cart staff. So I would like put up carts after the round. I would weed eat, I would cut holes on the greens, I would rake bunkers, all this type of stuff. Then I left, I went to college and came back and ended up doing the food and beverage management for the course in the mid 2000s. So I was did all the catering events, all the menu stuff. We had like all these big parties out on our deck, and it was like really taking the food and beverage part to the next level. So I ended up going back to school for my master's and left, and then started this career in higher education. And I was gone for 10 to 12 years. I can't remember exactly. I think it was 12 years. Like I was in Baltimore, I was in Connecticut, then I was in Cincinnati, and at different universities. And I ended up leaving higher education to be a stay-at-home dad. And that did that for 3 or 4 years until my daughters got old enough that my wife kind of hinted around that, hey, the girls are at preschool at school now. Like, you might need to find something else to do than hang out at home all day. Um, and she was right. And so I started getting back into golf while the girls were young because, I would be with them all day long. And then she would, she had her own business. She ran a marketing and communications business. So I took care of the girls all day, did all the domestic part of what needed to get done. And then she would want to be with the girls when she got done with work. So I would go to the driving range and I started hitting balls, started playing golf again, started getting back into it. Started working with some instructors, like learning club fitting, learning all this stuff. And so I ended up back at Riverside there was this big hole at Riverside. Like we never had consistent lesson availability or club fitting or any of these things that really is a value addition to the business. So I started doing that, and that's kind of where my small business part came into play. It was like I was kind of operating, on my own on this, but through Riverside. So but my only responsibility was the fitting and the teaching. Then I kept doing more and more. Like I would be like, okay, well, I'll help with this project. I'll install this new point of sale system in the pro shop. And one of our course titans, Bobby Green, he was worked open to close, or I'm sorry, open 7 days a week. So he was in the pro shop opening 7 days a week for 40 years. And he was the face of Riverside Golf Club. So the Roushes, kind of were the owners and everybody knew them. But Bobby Green is what people remembered when they came. And he had a massive effect on me as a young person, like learning the game and learning the golf industry. It's weird when you think about leadership in terms of like how the structure of it. So I will, report to Mitch, who is the superintendent, and Ty, who's the head professional, but also owner. So I report to them, but then they also have to report to me as the general manager in their distinct areas. So like if Mitch is planning on making a purchase for, a tractor or something, like I need to know how that's affecting the budget, just like Ty with the golf shop. And so it's an interesting dynamic, but so far it's been really good, and we've had a good communication process, and I think it's been moving in the right direction. Everybody seems really excited about it. But like my big takeaway from all that story is that you really can't hide from leadership. Like it's going to find you. Like if it's something that you do and it's something that you're good at, Like I can say like I'm just going to be a stay-at-home dad and teach some golf lessons every now and then, but somehow it just found me and I just kept taking on that more and more and more, and I kind of feel like I'm right back to where I was pre children, but like I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it.
Yeah, and one of the things that again we try to highlight is that leadership starts all the way down at the family level and then at the community level. Riverside has been around for over 60 years in Mason County community. Uh, Two things. What do you think makes Riverside special? That because for a small business to last that long is pretty impressive. What do you think makes it special, and what is its role and importance to the community?
So I would say in addition to being a golf course, Riverside, it's truly like a community center. So like you're getting married, you're gonna have, you're gonna see about having your reception at Riverside. If you're graduating something, you're gonna have your party at Riverside. Family member passes, you're gonna have a celebration of life at Riverside. And it just people have always kind of been drawn to it as like this hub of activity in Mason County, and even in Meigs County in Ohio, right across the river. And, we have like this big, vast member base or customer base, I guess, that have been, we have members that can tell you about playing the original 9 holes before the new nine were added and it became an 18-hole course. We have members that can tell you stories about the old clubhouse, and that's the group I'm in. Like I grew up in that old clubhouse, but there's a ton of people that play here now that never experienced that.
So I think you hit on a couple of key things that we're excited to have you on to highlight. And you've talked about, if you don't do your job and the Roush family doesn't keep that set of values, but learn to grow over time and keep a vibrant small business like uh, the club in the community loses. The community loses a place for families to grieve. When they lose a loved one, they lose a place to have great recreation opportunities or celebrate a wedding. So you really, from a leadership standpoint, it's not just about running a business. It's about running a business that supports a community. Is that
That's
fair to say?
100% correct. And that's kind of where we operate from every day. And it's not always about how much money can we make. It's about how can we support this community that supports us on a daily basis.
So, last question for you, for our listeners who are out there who might be considering starting a small business. Tell us what you believe a small business means to a local community in rural West Virginia.
I think a community can tell when the small business is authentic, when it's something that the owners or the founders or the people involved are very committed to and like are there for the right reasons. Like I always think about seeing these franchise opportunity advertisements where you can buy a car wash or you could buy a chicken finger restaurant, right? Like the only way you're doing anything like that is if you already have the capital to do it and you don't mind losing it if you lose it. So you're not going to be like, I want to start a small business, but I want to buy a little car wash that somebody else is going to run and I'm not going to have, like, my point is to make the revenue off of it. Like, I don't think that that's what the community looks at as like a small business that is going to be of value to it. They want the people that, how does this business help the community? How can it be involved? How can you be involved in the community? And what's the value in addition to the product that you're providing to the community? So the only way you can do that is if you believe in what you're doing. So if it's something like I have to be willing, and this is how I decided to take the general manager job, is like I was working nonstop and it never felt like I was working. It was like what I wanted to be doing. And that was a good indicator to me that, like, hey, this is probably the right spot for me, because it doesn't feel like it's a heavy lift for me to be doing all this, because I really enjoy it and I want to do it. And I think that that translates to the community, and they can see that. They can see the passion, they can see that the effort is there, in spite of, all of the challenges that it takes to run a business, employ people, provide, do all this, all the overhead associated with running a business. So I think that it's, like, my best advice for it is to make sure that it's something that you love and something that you care about and something that you're passionate about, because the community will know, and they will respect it if it is something that they see, and they will use it if it's something that they see that, there's a lot of effort being put into it.
Very good. Well, Adam, I appreciate you taking the time today to be on at the leadership table with us today. You've been a great example of part of what we've been trying to reinforce, and that is leaders come from the family and the community level up. You demonstrated that across our interview, and I greatly appreciate you taking the time to help us tell the story about leadership at all different levels and how important it is to our local communities and to our small businesses. So thank you for being on at the leadership table today.
Well, General, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun talking about all this stuff, and thank you for all you do for the state of West Virginia.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. This has been At the Leadership Table with retired Major General Jim Hoyer. Did you know you can now find me on social media at RMG Hoyer? That's HOYER, or email me at rmgjameshoyer@gmail.com.